Hey, I'm Nick with Ozark Buzz Life. Join me on my adventures at the plant nursery, where we'll explore, build trails, take on nursery tasks, work with tractors, and even talk plants. Let's get into it.
In this video, we'll be building a berm turn. Watch the transformation as we take a section of trail that once looked like this and turn it into a berm turn that now looks like this. So come along as I highlight the process and share what I learned along the way. Bonus, if you watch until the end, I'll reveal how much soil it took to build this berm turn. My first task on this project was to line the trail with some logs that I gathered from some nearby downed trees. I then used the tractor to pull the logs into place along the side of the trail. My initial approach was to use this old cedar log as the backer for the berm turn. I used the tractor to haul soil from the pile we have set aside for trail building to the work area. Once close to the work site, I worked to transfer the soil from the tractor bucket to the wheelbarrow. It took approximately 4 wheelbarrow loads to empty the tractor bucket. I actually didn't like this setup too much. The tractor was parked on a pretty steep slope and I was working at head level right in front of the bucket. I later used a flatter, safer site to transfer soil from the tractor to the wheelbarrow. With the soil loaded into the wheelbarrow, I started the process of mounting it up against the old cedar log. I used a hard rake to pull out the biggest rocks and I started shaping the berm turn. At this point, I felt like things were coming along pretty well, and it was time for a test ride. After a quick ride, I was able to determine that the berm needed to be built out a bit more towards the bottom of the turn. Unfortunately, I'd have to wait about a week before I could get back to this project.
Okay, heading on down by the creek to scavenge some more limbs and logs to help build up the bank for my berm turn on the trail.
I continued to haul logs and limbs to the worksite, stacking and packing them in on the steep backside of the turn. These logs and limbs will serve as filler when I start adding soil, and will help hold things in place. This spot actually took a lot more material than I expected. With the logs and limbs in place, I could now return to the task of hauling soil to the site. Since this soil would be filler on the backside of the turn, I used some really chunky material we call fill dirt. It's the material we screen out when we screen our topsoil for sale at the nursery. At this point, I hauled several wheelbarrow loads of fill dirt and packed it around the logs I stacked on the backside of the berm turn. From here, I switched material back to our good trail dirt and started running loads to the berm turn site. With all the soil in place, I took some time to pack and shape the turn. I wanted to make sure the back side of the berm was packed well before I started shaping the lip. Things were starting to look pretty good. Time for another test ride. After riding the turn, I realized that the deepest and highest part of the berm was too low and in the wrong spot in the turn. I was going to need to come back and keep building.
All right, well, I've been working on this section of trail down here in a tight corner, trying to put in a berm turn. Anyway, long story short, kind of built out the berm in the wrong spot on the hillside. So kind of behind me here, you can see where I built it out. And it needs to be a little further up the hill here, and in this area, to make the turn work right. Okay, so right here you can see the area that I built up on this hillside behind the turn. A bunch of logs and debris and such. The biggest part of the bank turn needs to be right in this area, and so this is what I got behind there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to trim some of this stuff back to give me access.
I was back on the hunt for logs and limbs, which gave me the opportunity to clean up some areas down by the creek.
All right, got myself a couple of logs there. I got some more good sized logs here. Right over here, I collected a fair amount of logs as well.
With the tractor loaded, my next task was to transport everything to the worksite and get it offloaded. From here, I basically had to start from scratch, building another large debris wall just up from the section of trail I had already built up. The area was quite steep and took a lot of material.
Okay, so I've been adding logs and down branches to the backside of the bank turn here. I need to get a few more layers of logs in there, and then I'll start adding soil.
I went back to our fill dirt pile with the tractor several more times. I then transferred the chunky fill material to the wheelbarrow and started the process of filling in the area behind the old cedar log. With the fill dirt in place behind the cedar log, I worked on spreading the material out and tamping it down to compact the soil. Now that the area behind the cedar log was filled with material, I needed to add a couple more logs to the top before switching back to hauling many loads of our good trail dirt. The trail dirt had a fair amount of rocks in it, but I was able to rake most of them out as I spread the dirt and started shaping the turn. With all of the soil in place and most of the bigger rocks removed, it was now time to shape the turn and put the finishing touches on the trail surface.
Well, hey, I'm just putting the finishing touches on the berm turn here, but I wanted to give you the lowdown on how much soil it took to build this turn. It actually took quite a bit more material than I initially expected. So I ended up shoveling approximately 72 wheelbarrows of soil over here. That's 18 tractor buckets approximately, and that comes out to about 9 cubic yards of material. All right, here's the berm turn from the top. Come into it here, bring it on around, and take it on down. think the lesson I learned here is not to underestimate the amount of material that you think a feature may take. It's probably going to take more. All right, thanks for watching.
This thing rides like a dream.